Keegan Cogan in the Man Cave Classroom today, analyzing a political cartoon. You noticed the possible source. Should we just start with the words, I guess? A lot of vocabulary. If you
A lot of vocabulary.
I'm seeing capitalism right here.
Yep.
Monopoly.
Monopoly, wage slavery. The name Pullman.
Yeah.
The name Pullman should be familiar to us during the Industrial Revolution.
The Pullman cars. That's
George
what he's
Pullman.
doing. And then right over here, he has somebody under, what do these call these? A vice or whatever?
Yeah, some sort of crushing vice grip. You see these in technology classes when you want to hold your tools in places.
Whatever.
But,
Of course, as a kid, we've definitely put our hand in the vice.
to see your fingers turn white and then blue.
I was in that class.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really. Now, to a certain point, if you keep crushing or turning that vice, it will do some damage. And the person that it's possibly doing some damage on here is an employee.
Yes, most likely the employee of George Pullman. Pullman, famous for making his sleeper cars, actually owned he owned the town in which the factory was in.
Okay.
The town was called Pullman, and he owned the town. He owned the apartments, and he basically was like king of this little town.
Very, very similar to your coal mining towns where
Yep.
it was the company store.
Yep.
Where, if you needed something, you went to him. So
Mhm.
here he is. This is obviously one of his employees, and he's being crushed pretty much. You have low wages,
Mhm.
you have the high rent, and I'm guessing since you're talking about this Pullman town, he was paying the rent too.
Yes. So he was paying his workers lower wages while at the same time raising the rent in which they had to pay for shelter.
So from Pullman, great.
Yep.
Money goes out, but it comes right back in.
Yep.
It's going to be horrible for this guy when you're looking at the fact that this guy has a family. He's receiving low wages, and at the end of the day, the guy who's providing him with that job is also the guy he's paying for his rent.
Almost seems not fair.
It doesn't seem like a very fair system. Seems very European, probably like what kind of system is it
Feudal?
referred to? Yeah, the feudal
Almost
system.
like the feudal system.
But
If only he had people who would help him.
Sure.
If only he had similar workers in similar situations and they formed together to form a union and went on strike.
And when we look at what unions were fighting for, it was to improve the wages.
Yep.
It was also to improve the working conditions, to end child labor.
Even says down here the conditioning of the laboring man at Pullman. Better working conditions. If it wasn't higher wages, it was shorter hours. If it wasn't shorter hours, it was safer working conditions.
Yep.
If it wasn't safer working conditions, it was health care eventually.
Absolutely.
And all these different benefits we're going to see.
And as this thing is crushing him, you see the money's coming out, which is pretty interesting as well. And the thing is that since we're bringing up the feudal system and we're talking about Europe, this could be, if not him, then many of the workers at that time were immigrants to the United States.
Yep.
Who were leaving Europe because
The poverty of Europe.
Yep,
Yeah.
because of all those push factors. When we talk about the fact that there was scarce land, not a lot of opportunities, and it almost seems like when we're talking about how this is very similar to the feudal system, where you're paying the
Yep.
landowner. This guy doesn't really seem to be getting
Yeah.
any of those things.
Also
that
got to
you
point
want
out
in
Pullman is
union.
being depicted as a large man.
Of course.
Wealthy, powerful, greedy, for every cent that he's trying to squeeze out of the working man.
And the top hat will help to seal that deal.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Anything else here?
No, the workers will go on strike. The Pullman strike is one of the more famous labor strikes of the 1800s. Ends in violence.
Sure. And if we're talking about, I guess, while we're looking at this, just one final thought, I guess, when we're looking at the political cartoonist, does he have an opinion in this, do you think?
Oh, he's certainly pro-worker.
He's definitely siding with labor.
Yeah, he's depicting Pullman as this engorged monopolist, squeezing the working man for every cent that he has.
So someone who would favor Pullman would have this wonderful town that he's providing. He's
Yes.
providing people with
People
a
are
place to
working
live.
happily on the trains,
Yes.
and all these wonderful, wonderful things.
So we certainly have some bias here, but again, this is giving you a good idea of what's going on during that time
Yeah.
period with Pullman workers. And of course, when we're looking at the condition of the labor movement, which we'll get into, when we're looking at the condition of the labor that he was experiencing, this is just one of the, I guess you could say, many problems that we start to see with
One of the
labor.
many.
Yep.
One of the many.
Cool. All right, good. Well, thanks for watching.